Most people have already broken their New Year's resolutions by February. And if you're struggling with brain fog, fatigue, or focus issues, it's almost guaranteed. But what if the problem isn't you? It's the way you're setting your goals. Hi, I'm Dr. Lexi, a certified functional medicine practitioner, pharmacist, and the creator of the Oakley Method. And I help busy parents and professionals rebuild their brain health so that they can reclaim their energy, focus, and mental clarity. And as we close out 2025 and look ahead into 2026, I want to walk you through a different way to think about your goals. Not just resolutions you'll drop in a few weeks, but goals that actually stick because they're rooted in your purpose and supported by your brain health. So here's the thing. Most people approach the new year with a laundry list of goals. Lose 10 pounds, eat healthier, exercise every day, maybe get more organized at work. And don't get me wrong, those are great things to aim for. But here's why so many of us give up within a few weeks. Those goals are floating out there with no anchor. They're not tied to our deeper why. And if your purpose isn't clear, your brain doesn't see a reason to follow through. And it's not about discipline or willpower, it's about meaning. When your goals are rooted in purpose, your brain interprets them as non negotiables instead of optional to dos. One of my favorite reminders comes from the 5 a.m. club, which my copy is currently being loaned out. But don't worry, I'm not here to tell you to wake up at 5 every morning, although it's something I do personally, and I love the way I can choose to start off my day. But what that book is really about is this. When you intentionally carve out time for what matters most, even just 20 minutes, it creates a ripple effect. The rest of your day starts to align around that choice. And that's the power of protecting your purpose-driven time. And then there's the way that we think about our goals. And that's where think this, not that comes in, because so many of us are running the wrong mental scripts. We think things like, I can't keep up anymore, or maybe this is just aging. And when that's your thought process, your brain believes it and your actions follow. But what happens when you flip that script? Instead of saying, I can't keep up, you say, I can prioritize what fuels my brain and my body. You're not just changing a sentence, you're rewiring your brain and your identity. And identity is what drives action. I'll give you an example from my own life. Years ago, I told myself I was going to work out more, and I was hit or miss because honestly, my why was just to look good or feel a certain way. And on the days I was tired or busy, that wasn't enough to get me out of bed. But then my grandmother started declining with Alzheimer's. And as a pharmacist and studying functional medicine, I knew the research on exercise in the brain. I knew movement could literally help protect my neurons and lower my risk of cognitive decline. And suddenly, my why wasn't about looking good in jeans, it was about not wanting that same future. That purpose anchored me. And guess what? Since then, those early morning workouts have become non negotiable, not because I suddenly became more disciplined, but because my purpose was clear. And maybe you felt the same. Maybe you've told yourself, I just don't have the willpower, or I'm too busy to stick with it. But what if it's not a willpower problem at all? What if it's a clarity problem? And here's what I've seen again and again. Even if you've got the best goals and the clearest purpose, it's hard to stay consistent if your brain just isn't firing the way it used to. When you're running on brain fog, fatigue, and stress, your purpose feels far away. But when your brain is supported, suddenly that purpose becomes reachable. It feels doable. So the question isn't just, what are my goals this year? The real question is, how can I create the brain health and energy I need so I can actually live out my purpose? Because when your brain is clear and your energy is steady, you're not just setting goals, you're becoming the person you want to be. So now let's talk about resolutions specifically for a second. You know, the ones, I'm going to the gym every day. I'll cut out all sugar starting January 1st. I'll meditate for 30 minutes every morning. I'll finally get organized at work and home. Basically, reinvent your entire life overnight. And by week 2, you're exhausted, behind, and already feeling like you failed. Listen, I've been there too. These are great intentions, but the reason they rarely work isn't because you're lazy or lack discipline. It's because your brain literally gets overwhelmed by trying to take on too much at once. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision making and planning, can only handle so much at one time. And when you dump 10 giant new habits on it, your brain goes into overload. And when the brain feels overloaded, it does what it knows best. It defaults to the old patterns. And this is why the book Atomic Habits was such a game changer for me. And I wish I could find my copy, but I haven't been able to find it after we moved on to the homestead. But the book makes it clear it's not the giant leaps that change your life, it's the small, consistent shifts you repeat day after day. And more importantly, it's about identity-based habits. So instead of focusing on the finish line, you focus on who you're becoming. So for example, instead of I want to lose 20 pounds, you think I'm the type of person who moves my body every morning. And instead of I'll never eat sugar again, you think I'm the type of person who chooses one brain nourishing food each day. Instead of I'll meditate for an hour every morning, you think I'm the type of person who creates 5 minutes of quiet before bed. One feels like a mountain you'll never climb, and the other feels doable, and it builds momentum. And here's the beauty of small shifts. They stack. One nourishing meal turns into 2. 5 minutes of movement turns into 20. Choosing to turn your phone off 10 minutes earlier turns into a real bedtime routine. You don't even realize it at first, but those small decisions compound into a completely different lifestyle. I can tell you from experience. And for those of you who are dealing with brain fog, fatigue, or ADHD, you know how overwhelming big, rigid resolutions can feel. But tiny identity-based shifts, your brain can actually handle those. And over time, they add up to the mental clarity and energy that you've been craving. So when you're thinking about 2026, instead of asking, what big resolution can I force myself into this year? Try asking, who do I want to become? And then choose one small action that lines up with that identity, because that's where the real transformation starts. All right, now that we've talked about why mindset and purpose matter and why small shifts beat big resolutions, let's actually look at forecasting your year ahead, because this is where the rubber meets the road. So instead of piling on more resolutions, I want to slow down with you and ask a few questions. These aren't fluffy questions. They're the kind that cut right to the heart of what you actually want out of this year. So question number 1, what's your why for 2026? And I don't mean the Instagram version of your why. I mean deep down, what do you want most? Is it to finally feel sharp and focused at work again so you don't feel like you're always behind? Is it to walk through the door at night and actually have the energy to enjoy your family instead of collapsing onto the couch? Or maybe it's to feel like yourself again, to wake up and not dread the day before it starts. Now go ahead and pause this video and take a minute to think about this and write down your answer before we keep going. Okay, so question number 2 is, what area of your life feels most urgent right now? For some of you, it might be your health, because your brain fog and fatigue have gotten so bad you can't ignore them anymore. For others, it might be your career. You're tired of being the one who forgets deadlines or misses details. And for some, it might be your relationships. You're tired of snapping at your spouse or zoning out with your kids because your brain just won't cooperate. Which one is screaming for your attention the loudest? Again, pause this video and write down your answers. Question number 3 is, if your brain fog lifted tomorrow, like if you had full clarity and energy tomorrow, what's the very first thing that you'd do differently? Would you finally tackle that project at work you've been avoiding? Would you get back to the hobbies you used to love, like reading or gardening, maybe even drawing or dancing? Or would you simply enjoy being present with your family instead of going through the motions? Again, pause the video and write down your answers. And question number 4, looking ahead to December 2026, 12 months from now, what's the one change that you'd be proudest of making? Picture yourself reflecting on the year. What would make you say, that was the year everything shifted for me? Would it be getting your health under control, rebuilding your energy, finally feeling like yourself again? Take another minute to pause this video and write that down too. Now, if you want to take more than just a minute or two with these questions, that's okay too, because these aren't just surface level questions. They're your forecast. They help you see not just what you want to do, but who you want to become. And here's where I want you to keep it simple. Instead of trying to change everything at once, choose just one small action that moves you closer to that vision. For one person, it might be committing to shutting off screens 30 minutes before bed, because better sleep means better brain health. For someone else, it might be swapping the afternoon soda for water with lemon, because small changes in energy ripple throughout the whole day. And maybe for you, it's carving out 10 quiet minutes in the morning, not to do an elaborate routine, but just to breathe and set the tone before chaos hits. The action itself isn't necessarily the point. The point is creating momentum. That one choice repeated is like planting a seed. At first, it feels really small, but with time, it grows into clarity, energy, and presence. And that's what makes every other goal you've set possible. So as you forecast for 2026, don't get lost in a long list of resolutions. Anchor yourself in your why, and then choose one small doable step that aligns with the person you want to become. That's how you create real change that lasts. Now, maybe you're thinking, Lexi, I've done this before. I've set goals, I've written things down, and I still end up getting stuck. And if that's you, I get it. You're not broken and you're not lazy. You're just human. And honestly, most people get stuck in the same three places. First, they get overwhelmed. There's so much information out there, diets, supplements, productivity hacks, that you don't even know where to start. So you end up either doing nothing or you try and do everything at once, which only leads to burnout. Second, they rely on quick fixes, medications, another energy drink, another planner or app. And while some of those things can help for a little while, they don't fix the root of the problem. Third, they try to go at it alone. And listen, I admire the independence, but when you're exhausted, foggy, and stretched thin, it's really hard to put all the pieces together by yourself. And that's why so many people get stuck spinning in circles. But the good news, you don't have to stay stuck. You don't need to figure it all out perfectly right now. All you need is a clear framework to follow, one that helps you reset your brain, rebuild your energy, and finally feel like yourself again. And if this sounds like you and you want to take the next step, I'd love to invite you to my free masterclass, the 4-step framework to beat brain fog, fatigue, and mood and memory struggles naturally. It's where we go deeper into the steps that you can take to start reclaiming your clarity and energy now. You can sign up using the link below this video, and I cannot wait to see you there. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who could use a little extra clarity and motivation heading into the new year. Here's to making 2026 the year you feel sharper, more energized, and more present than ever. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next year.